Thales had proposed water as the underlying stuff of everything. His younger contemporary and fellow Milesian, Anaximander, took a step of astonishing intellectual nerve. No visible element, he reasoned, not water, not air, not fire, could serve as the source of all others, for each is bounded by and opposed to the rest. So he posited something radically new, the apeiron, an unbounded, indefinite principle, devoid of any determinate qualities, from which all things emerge and to which they inevitably return. With this single move, philosophical speculation climbed to a higher rung of abstraction. For the first time, the ground of reality was not something one could see or handle. It was a notion reached by reason alone. In this lesson we shall examine just what the apeiron is, how Anaximander accounted for the formation of the cosmos, and why his thought marks an irreversible milestone in the history of philosophy. Anaximander is said to have been a pupil of Thales. But his philosophical achievement lies in seeing what his teacher, for all his pioneering insight, had missed. The question he posed can be put plainly. If everything issues from a single source, can that source really be something as concrete as water? Water is a definite stuff. And because it is definite, it excludes whatever it is not. How, then, could water ever give rise to fire, which boils it away, or to earth, which banks and contains it? The difficulty has two faces. One is cosmological. The elements of the world are locked in perpetual opposition. Hot drives out cold, dry parches wet. If the originating principle were itself one of these warring opposites, why would it not simply annihilate the others or be annihilated by them? The second face is logical. Whatever is determinate is already bounded by what it is not. Water is not fire, not air, not earth. To make water the source of all things is to make something finite the source of everything, and that seemed, to Anaximander, unsustainable. The true principle had to be something else entirely. Not water, not any stuff a person could point to. It had to be something unbounded, without qualities, without determinations. Something that only thought could grasp. The evidence for Anaximander is, if anything, even more elusive than for Thales. We have no original writings. But there is a further twist, often overlooked. The very term that made Anaximander famous, apeiron, does not appear in Aristotle at all. The philosopher mentions Anaximander by name only 4 times in his entire surviving corpus, and never once calls his principle the Boundless. That attribution comes from Theophrastus, Aristotle's pupil, in a work now lost. It was Theophrastus, not Aristotle, who fixed the apeiron as the hallmark of Anaximander's thought. Our chief witness is Simplicius, writing in the 6th century of the Common Era. He quotes Theophrastus and supplies the one verbatim sentence we possess from Anaximander himself. Between us and the Milesian, then, stand 3 layers of transmission: Aristotle, Theophrastus, and Simplicius. What we read as Anaximander's philosophy is a reconstruction, filtered through categories and concerns that were not his own. Here, as with Thales, caution is the price of entry. Anaximander inhabited the same city, the same century, and the same intellectual climate as Thales. Miletus remained what it had been, a crossroads of goods, tongues, and mental habits. But if Thales is remembered chiefly for his ideas, Anaximander left a mark on the practical affairs of his city as well. Ancient sources credit him with drawing the first map of the inhabited world, an undertaking that must have required gathering reports from sailors, traders, and travelers across the Mediterranean and beyond. He is also said to have brought the gnomon, a Babylonian timekeeping device, to Greek shores. Nor was he a recluse. We are told he led a colonizing expedition to Apollonia on the Thracian coast. This fusion of theory and practice, of abstract speculation and political action, captures something essential about the earliest philosophical school. The same mind that charted the known world also dared to conceive a principle without bounds or figure. Philosophy was born not in the solitude of the sage, but in the thick of a living city, open to the sea and to the traffic of ideas. We arrive now at the doctrinal center of Anaximander's thought. We possess from him a single verbatim sentence, preserved by Simplicius in his commentary on Aristotle's Physics. It is the oldest surviving fragment of Western philosophy in its author's own words. The sentence runs, "From what things come to be, into those very things they also pass away, according to necessity, for they give justice and reparation to one another for their injustice, according to the ordinance of time." Every term in this remarkable statement invites sustained reflection. These words encode a vision of the cosmos of astonishing depth. Anaximander is not outlining a merely physical process. He is describing a normative order. The things that come into being, elements, living creatures, entire worlds, incur, simply by existing, a kind of injustice. What is this injustice? By occupying a place, by asserting themselves as something definite, they displace what is other. They limit it, they deny it. To exist as something determinate is already to disturb an original equilibrium. And every disturbance calls for restitution. The restitution is the return to the source, the dissolution of the determinate back into the indeterminate. Time, in this picture, is the magistrate that administers the unending cycle of birth and death. And what is this source from which all things arise and to which all things return? Anaximander called it the apeiron, the boundless, the indefinite. Unlike Thales' water, the apeiron is not something we can see or touch. It has no determinate qualities. It is neither hot nor cold, neither wet nor dry. And precisely because it is no particular thing, it can be the source of all things. Were it something determinate, it would exclude whatever it is not. Being indeterminate, it encompasses everything. It surrounds the cosmos, steers it, sustains it. And it is, Aristotle tells us, deathless and imperishable. It neither comes to be nor passes away. If it had a beginning, it would not be the ultimate source. If it had an end, it would not be the ultimate destination. The principle of everything cannot itself have a principle. With the apeiron, philosophy takes a leap of abstraction without precedent. Thales had sought the principle in something visible, in an element of the world. Anaximander grasped that the true ground must lie beyond the visible, beyond all determination. What he inaugurates is not merely a new answer to the question of the arche. It is a new way of asking, a new demand for radicality. After Anaximander, philosophy will understand that the principle of reality cannot be something we stumble upon in everyday experience. It must be something that only thought can reach. Anaximander left us no explicit chain of reasoning, but from the ancient testimonies and from the single fragment that survives, we can reconstruct the grounds that supported his thesis of the apeiron. 3 lines of argument converge on a single conclusion: the principle of all things cannot itself be anything determinate. Let us examine each in turn. The first ground rests on a straightforward observation of the natural world. The elements are locked in mutual opposition. Fire boils away water, water quenches fire, heat drives out cold, dryness parches moisture. If the principle of everything were one of these warring elements, water, for instance, how is it that its opposites exist at all? Had water been the arche from the beginning, its absolute predominance ought to have prevented fire from ever arising. The very fact that opposites coexist and alternate suggests that none of them can be the ultimate source. The true origin must lie prior to that opposition, something that is neither hot nor cold, neither wet nor dry. The second ground appeals to a requirement of inexhaustibility. The cosmos is no static tableau. Things come into being and pass away without end. Living creatures succeed one another generation after generation. Worlds themselves, according to Anaximander, form and dissolve in endless cycles. If this process is never to halt, the source from which everything arises must be inexhaustible. Yet anything determinate, a specific element, a particular quality, is by its very nature finite. Were the principle water, it would sooner or later run dry through transformation into other things. Only something boundless, without edges or limits, can fuel the ceaseless flux of generation and decay. The third ground is the deepest and most original. It comes directly from the surviving fragment. To exist as something determinate, as this fire, as this stone, as this human being, is already an injustice. Why? Because by occupying a place, by asserting itself as this and not that, each thing limits everything else. It displaces, it denies, it encroaches. That injustice demands reparation, and the reparation consists in the return of all determinate things to their indeterminate source. Time is the magistrate that ensures no being escapes this law. The apeiron, then, is not merely a physical principle. It is also a principle of moral order, a cosmic tribunal before which all things must finally give account. To claim that the principle of everything is the apeiron, the boundless, the indefinite, is not a thesis that concerns only the origin of things. It sets in motion consequences that reshape the entire image of the cosmos, the nature of being, the meaning of individual existence, and the very conception of the divine. Let us examine the four fundamental consequences of Anaximander's thought. The first consequence is cosmological. If the principle is boundless and inexhaustible, the process of generation can never come to an end. Anaximander conceived a dynamic cosmos in perpetual motion. From the apeiron the opposites separate out, hot and cold, dry and wet, and from this separation worlds are born. But these worlds are not eternal. They grow, develop, and finally perish, returning to the apeiron from which they arose. And this cycle repeats without end. Our world is not unique, nor is it privilege. It is one among countless worlds succeeding one another in time. We are face to face with the first evolutionary and pluralistic cosmology in the history of thought. The second consequence is metaphysical in character. With Anaximander, the ground of reality ceases to be something visible and tangible. The determinate, that is, everything we can see, touch, or name, arises from the indeterminate. Being emerges from what is no particular thing. Philosophical abstraction reaches here a height never before scaled. The third consequence is perhaps the most haunting. If existing as something individual is already an injustice against the original equilibrium, then whatever is born is condemned to perish. Individual existence is not a gift, it is a debt that time will see fit to collect. Anaximander thus sketches the earliest formulation of a universal cosmic law, a law that governs the physical world and the moral order alike. The fourth consequence touches the sphere of the divine. Aristotle tells us that the apeiron is deathless and imperishable, that it encompasses and steers all things. Are we dealing with a god? Yes, but of a radically new kind. It is no personal deity. It has no will, no design, requires no cult, hears no prayers. It is an immanent principle, an impersonal lawfulness that directs the cosmos without purpose or intent. With Anaximander, the divine becomes impersonal and rational. It is the first step toward a philosophical theology that no longer needs myth to speak of the sacred. Interpreting Anaximander means confronting a set of stubborn questions that show no sign of resolution. First among them is the very nature of the apeiron. Are we to imagine it as a kind of material stuff, an unbounded reservoir from which everything flows, or as a purely abstract concept, a requirement of reason with no physical counterpart? Scholars remain divided. Some see a precursor to materialism, others, the first great leap toward purely conceptual thought. A second difficulty clusters around the word injustice in the surviving fragment. Is this a genuinely moral notion, a wrong that demands punishment, or merely a vivid metaphor for the push and pull of natural forces? A third puzzle concerns Anaximander's cosmology. Simplicius reports that he spoke of innumerable worlds. But the Greek does not make clear whether these worlds exist all at once, side by side, or succeed one another in an endless temporal sequence. The ambiguity persists. Finally, there is the problem of what it means for the apeiron to steer all things, as Aristotle reports. Are we to imagine a kind of conscious governance, or rather an impersonal lawfulness, an immanent order without purpose or will? The answer shapes everything else we might say about Anaximander's thought. Anaximander has drawn sharply different readings from scholars across the generations. The young Friedrich Nietzsche, during his years as a classicist, saw in him the West's first tragic thinker. The notion that individual existence is itself an injustice, a debt that death alone can settle, struck Nietzsche as the original statement of a radical ontological pessimism. Long before Socrates or Plato, it was Anaximander who had glimpsed the darker, Dionysian underside of things. Werner Jaeger could hardly have disagreed more. For him, Anaximander represented the definitive triumph of logos over myth. With the apeiron, philosophical abstraction reached its first moment of full maturity. No longer was the principle something one could point to. It was something reason alone could posit. Geoffrey Kirk, by contrast, urged restraint. The apeiron, he insisted, is not a pure abstraction. It is an indefinite material stuff, something intermediate between the determinate elements, but still physical in character. The evidence, he argued, simply will not bear the weight of a more ambitious reading. The debate, as ever with the Presocratics, remains very much alive. We have reached the end of our lesson on Anaximander. 3 points deserve to be held onto. The first is his founding gesture, moving past Thales. Anaximander grasped that no determinate element, not water, not air, not fire, could serve as the source of all others, for each opposes and limits the rest. The true origin had to be something radically other, something without determinations. That single insight altered the course of philosophy for good. The second point concerns the nature of the apeiron itself. The boundless, the indefinite, that which has no qualities and no shape. We cannot see it or touch it. Only thought can reach it. It encompasses the cosmos, steers it, sustains it. From it the opposites separate out and worlds are born. To it they return when they perish. It is deathless and imperishable, for the principle of everything cannot itself have a beginning or an end. The third point is perhaps the deepest. Anaximander introduced a notion of cosmic justice. To exist as something individual, as this being, as this thing, is already an injustice against the original equilibrium. Whatever is born is condemned to perish, and time is the magistrate that sees to it that no debt remains unpaid. That is why we close with this thought. Anaximander taught that the origin of everything cannot resemble anything we know. His apeiron remains, 26 centuries later, one of the most audacious ideas the human mind has ever conceived. For those wishing to pursue Anaximander and the Presocratics further, several works are indispensable. The standard critical edition of the Fragments remains Diels and Kranz's Presocratic Fragments, which collects all surviving testimonia in their original languages. As for secondary literature, Charles Kahn's Anaximander and the Origins of Greek Cosmology stands as the definitive monograph on the Milesian. Alongside it, the collaborative volume by Kirk, Raven, and Schofield, the Presocratic Philosophers, and Jonathan Barnes's meticulous early Greek philosophy remain essential guides. Here ends our study of Anaximander and his boundless principle. In our next philosophy lesson, we will continue with Anaximander, the last member of the Milesian school. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for your attention. Until next time.